Okay, welcome everybody to the Sunday night chart chat, the penny stock of billionaires. Not just charts, we'll also be talking about some fundamentals, but mostly charts. Amazing week in the markets. Again, the last couple of weeks, really since the end of probably already full bull market in some of our key microcap names has been gaining steam. We're starting to see, as you can see on this chart here on the screen, things are starting to move. This is actually a weekly chart for RHT, American symbol up, RQHTF. And the reason I have that here is because the TSX one only shows the TSX, which is relatively new. So this kind of gives a much longer time period. All right, so let me just change. Let me just run through a quick disclaimer. Yeah, everything here we talk about, these are all clients of Wall Street Reporter, Octagon Media Corp. This should be considered paid content. These are very, very risky stocks, and you can lose all your money in some of these stocks. So again, very high risk. With that said, you could also make 10x to 100x, and that is, our goal here is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside. We have already had 7 in the past 24 months, 2 years since we changed up to this new format with this focus on finding these 100 baggers, 10 baggers. So we've already had, 7 stocks that are up between, 1,200% and 5,000%, and way too many doubles, 4x, 5x to even list. But I would like to get I'd like to close out 2021 with at least 3 more 10 baggers. So to have a nice plus to start 2022 with. That is kind of the goal, and I think we are definitely on track with that. RHT is definitely one of those stocks which has that 10 bagger potential. Now, RHT I think is going to take a little bit longer. I don't know if they're going to make it into the 10 bagger status by December. Probably into next year. It's probably going to take maybe by next May. I think it's going to take 9 months, really, 6-9 months. But I think RHT is probably, could be $3 by, I think we're looking at 250 plus by next few months, probably end of October. $3 to $5 maybe by January, February. I mean, we can go through all the fundamentals and all that stuff. But first, let's look at the chart. Forget about the fundamentals. Again, the charts don't lie. So here's what's happening. Again, this is a weekly chart. So this is a long-term chart, which kind of gives you some perspective on what's really happening with the stock. So we got involved with this back here. Again, this is the American chart, so it's translation it was at 30. So the Canadian stock is obviously was at 30% roughly higher. So it's we're $1.08 versus 85 cents US. So we got involved with RHT right around here in February. You can see kind of the volume kicking in. The US volume pretty much started at that point. Then kind of like in March, February, March, the microcaps got whacked. Okay. We went through like this nice dip, and then we had this very nice kind of double bottom happening here. And look what's happening. It bounces off this long-term moving average. It pivots off that, leverages off that. And this thing is starting to make a run. I mean, if you look at this chart, this is easily a $2 plus stock. and now this is I think it was with a split, etc. Yeah, there was like a stock split. So, but you know what? I always say, look, stocks can always go back to the original numbers. So again, there was this is previous stuff, so you can't really count on that. However, I tell you, this is easily, I believe, a 250 stock in the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I think it's going to happen sooner, actually, and ultimately at least $5 next few months. Let's zoom in on the daily chart. Actually, should we do a daily? Yeah, let's do the daily. Okay. So as you can see, Friday was a monster day. I mean, this is the breakout day. This is the breakout. And again, one thing I've been telling you, the longer a stock stays in this consolidation pattern, when it breaks out, it's usually the breakout is commensurate. The upswing is in proportion to the consolidation period. We saw that exact same thing happen with Peak Fintech, PKK, which was one of our multi baggers, went up 1,300% from the time we introduced that one at 35 cents, 70 cents with a split. Same thing is happening over here. Yeah, so this thing is the momentum has started. I mean, this basically, the rocket ship has left the launch pad. The train has left the station. At this point, you're going to have to chase this. I don't think this is going to be coming down here. I don't think this is going to be. You might see, maybe if you're lucky, you might see a little bit, a slight pullback in a few days, maybe a little bit. I don't think it's going to go. I mean, based on the velocity you're seeing, the momentum, I don't see this stock. I don't see the stock going back to these prices. The prices we saw last week, I don't think RHT is going to see those prices. I don't want to say the word ever again, but I don't see it happening. That's it. This thing is, and this is. I'll tell you, what's interesting is the coincidence that this stock is taken us kind of the longest to kind of leave the launch pad. One of the issues is we kind of introduced this right near the peak of the market in February, and so the timing was horrible. So basically, stocks and everything kind of really everything kind of fell apart right away. I mean, things popped. We have things that doubled, but then after March, it was really bad for a couple of months. And this thing is only really started getting its legs back in the last month or so, at the end of July, basically. So this is it. Let me just go to a couple things here. So yeah, I would say yes. So we're seeing some fundamentals. I think. Well, I'll put it this way. Here is my take on it. I mean, listen. Forget about. I'm not. You can't really compare apples to fundamental. I'm not going to compare fundamentals. I'm not going to get into the fundamental thing or anything else. I mean, look. I think Peak is a very good company. Fundamentals are great. Okay, the idea, our whole premise here is 10x upside, right? So I want things which have a 10x upside from where they are right now. And once a stock has already had that 10x big win, it's very hard for it to go up 10x from there. It's just the odds of that are like extremely remote. Again, I think Peak could probably double. I don't know, could easily go up a couple bucks from here. But also there's a lot of downside risk also at the same. So it's not, the risk reward ratio is not great. Again, our whole thing is asymmetric upside. So it's got to be at minimum 5-to-1, 10-to-1, so that, you're putting up basically, a buck, or 80 cents here. And the upside is, $8.50, $10 on this stock. It's actually, the risk is a little bit less. It's not the full 85 cents because I don't think the stock would go to zero. I mean, in theory, the stock like this, the risk is, the way the chart is right now, I mean, I don't want to say this like, there's no risk, but it's pretty much been de-risked. What you're seeing now is a massive momentum breakout. So, I mean, pretty much, I would say realistically, the downside could be in the 75 cents area. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't see it going back below. It might test at some point, maybe. I just don't. I really don't see it. So, in theory, and again, in theory, you're risking 10 cents to make $8 or $5. That's 50 to 1. So I'm not saying you should put your stop loss at 75 cents, but I really don't see. I kind of see in the way this chart looks right now that. Although again, in theory, anything can go to zero, but I don't see this going below that. So RHT, amazing looking chart for this week. I think we're going to see some incredible activity. And so here's again the fundamentals. Let me just give you a quick recap. Again, there's a video. Look at the video we have with Lisa, the CEO, Dr. Lisa. Check it out. Last was 10 days ago. It's on our YouTube channel, RHT, RQHTF, Relic Health. So the idea is this. First of all, they're at the pivot point. They've turned the corner to profitability. We're going to see them profitable this quarter. The big story, again, it's a telemedicine company. Okay, so their device basically, it's a remote patient monitoring. And again, they're kind of going after, I don't want to say niche population, but it's not like one of these high tech super thing where you need to have a system. It's really meant for like older people. They may not speak English that well, so it's very simplified. And apparently it's working well. They have contracts now. They've contracted 200,000 patient population that's already contracted. That's not where they finish. They keep adding more and more. I mean, they've had new contracts they announced last week. They're probably going to have more contracts coming up, but those 200,000 are getting onboarded over the next 18 months. So we're seeing more and more of them come on board, and you're going to see those things reflected. And they're making, what is it, $40 revenue per? I believe it's $40 per. But one of the tailwinds pushing it along is the Medicare and Medicaid, the coding stuff, which makes it, the reimbursement. In the U.S., it's a big deal because that's what pays for this stuff. So if you look at it, 100,000, 40. I mean, this. So let me see if my math is correct. So let's 1,000. Forget about the 200. I'm going to just make it easy math. So 100,000 times 40 is $4 million a month, 50 million a year. They could probably get to the 100,000 population. I don't want to put words up, but probably May of next year. I think they're going to be at a 24 million run rate by this December. But let's say they get to the full 50 million run rate by May. That would make this company worth potentially, $1 billion, 20 times the revenues. Here's the beautiful thing about the model. It is, again, it's cash flow positive. It generates cash flow so that, and what they're saying is, based on what they have right now, there's not a need to raise additional capital, so that it becomes a self-perpetuating money machine. Of course, look, at some point, every company has to raise money. If they want a massive opportunity that, or something that comes along, they might raise a couple of bucks, but I don't think anybody's going to care about it at that point. It's not one of these things where, companies raise. Although, look, we've seen things like, Peak raised $50 million, and the stock went up, and they still have the warrant. They're probably going to have $100 million. So that I think is going to have an overhang on the stock, I believe. But again, for some companies, it really doesn't matter. So yes. This guy is asking, look at Project X is, it's going to happen. TBP, oh, that's a good question. I got to hire you as the accountant. We got to bring that up. We got to actually, I got to call him this week because it's coming up. I think it may have expired, but sometimes we just keep doing, But yeah, I got to follow up with the company this week. Thank you, Sylvain, for you're hired. Okay, so Logic fans, these are the also on the list. By the way, if you're just watching this video for the first time, make sure to click the like and subscribe button if you want to join our Telegram channel. The link is in the video description below. We have intraday commentary in there during the day, chart stuff, and also our Discord channel is in that link in the video description. And make sure you leave comments. If you're watching this video later, just put in a comment on YouTube because it helps the algorithm. Just, I don't care what you write, just write something. In thing. This is apparently what makes the YouTube thing work. Okay, so Relic, great look. I should say it's interesting. A lot of times when I say, wow, everything looks amazing, and then usually the next day it goes in the opposite direction. We've seen that happen a couple of times. So it could happen here, it could happen, but the chart is just, so we might see a fake out, like a one-day thing, and then it's going to continue going in the direction, in the upswing. So speaking of charts that have fake outs, perfect example, fans always has the fake outs. So fans, again, I think we've just started a massive, we're getting ready for the next 10 bagger with fans. So fans, we have two stocks right now that already got to be 10x. That's fans and ESE. They pulled back since February, and I think now they're in a perfect setup to go 10x from where they are right now. Fundamentally, all these companies are massively in a much more advanced position than they were, 6 months ago, 9 months ago. So I think we have some really good possibilities here. What you see happening with fans, I'm going to draw you the trend line. What happened? The trend line went away. So okay, so that's basically your support line. It's a very important support line for fans. And we just do another one. Ooh, there we go. That's interesting. Okay, so that line is going to, as you can see, that was a support line at one point, and now it's going to act as a resistance. So I think fans basically, again, we're pivoting off this support line. Is nice bounce. It broke above the moving average, a 50-day moving average, and I would like to see get a little more acceleration, a little more momentum. It's been it's a little slow, but that's this stock. That's what it does sometimes. It doesn't always act like it doesn't just go in one direction. So I think what is going to happen is we're going to hit a $1.50 resistance. There's really no resistance up until around here. This trend line. So $1.50 is your next level of resistance, and I think what I think is going to happen is it's going to that level, the $1.50, and it's going to just bounce off. It's going to use that as a support level, and that's it. That's pretty much, that's the whole thing. From there, it can go to $4, $5, or whatever. It needs to get above that $1.50 support line. So it's not $2. I know if people have talked about. I think I may have is the resistance. It's not. It's really that is your real. Maybe there's another one here in theory. $1.50 is going to be your most important. To get above this trend line, that's going to be your most important thing here. Yeah, okay, so right, so that's the other thing. So fans, what are are they sitting on? 35 million cash? They raised a bunch of money recently. They didn't have to raise the money that they did a few months ago. They really didn't have to. It was kind of a sacrifice. So they must have something happening. Like Maury is saying, I agree. Something is going on. And with all the deals that are happening in the market, all the M&A activity, I'm sure they're looking at something. Again, they're not telling me anything. I don't know any, those guys are very, very conservative. They're not like, promoters types. So I'm not privy to any information, unfortunately, or unfortunately, I don't have any insight. It's just my guess. That something is going to happen there. Something big. Yeah. By the way, one thing I want to add. And I've talked about this a couple times. One thing I like to look at is kind of overall investor sentiment. I look at message boards, investor forums, whether it's CEOCA or the Yahoo or whatever. And again, it is like an inverse. Either people are drinking the Kool-Aid or they're drinking the haterade. So like if you look at, for example, I'm looking at examples of stocks which are like massive highs, have already had massive runs. You see people saying, "Oh, it's going to be the next 50 bagger. It's going to be life changing. It's going to be I'm going to start." They really start drinking the Kool-Aid, and or they're in the complete opposite, which has been with RHT. There was like, if you go on that board, people are saying, "Oh, the company's a scam. It's no good." All of a sudden, you don't hear from those people in the last few weeks. You don't hear from them anymore. I mean, like occasionally they might pop in on a down day, but some positivity. So I think that means to me that it's an indication that a stock still has a lot of room to go. As soon as you see 8 out of 10 comments on a stock are positive, you're in a bubble. So when you have the opposite of that, that's usually the bottom. It's kind of logical, right? Fans, again, that's your chart of fans. Let me just answer this. I don't know. It's an interesting question. I don't think I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be as many of these guys I don't think there's going to be as many psychedelic stocks. But I think individually, we might see like some. I mean, I think it's going to be really the individual companies at the end of the day. I don't think we're going to see like 1,000 psychedelic stocks. It's just it's more of a niche thing, So I've not heard anything on Bets. Again, so Bets is the gaming company that's mostly doing business, in India. And this is one that's been halted for since April, pending this merger, which is supposed to be this huge merger. So we're going to see what happens. It's very annoying. I wish they were. I hear they have big lithium mines there or something. Something's going on. So what happens with Bets? That's one of the issues with. I know it's kind of rare. You don't see this happen in the U.S. Stocks being halted for a merger, but it's annoying. Again, that's another reason why don't put all your eggs in one basket, even though, playing the 10 baggers from, one after the other and the other. In reality, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We've had people do it, but don't do it. It's not a good idea because that's exactly, stock can get halted. I don't know what's going on with that. I've got to get these guys back on. It's annoying. Look, one of the things, and again, I've talked about, one of the big things with our platform, the next super stock platform is what we're saying is that, what the focus of the next super stocks, Wall Street Report, is the next super stock is a company that's at the inflection point. Inflection point means, that's the point when there's going to be massive news flow, that momentum is going to start happening, and that velocity. That's specifically the premise, right? So we've had companies, that deliver a lot. RHT is actually an example of that. They've actually had that, when they came on, they've actually delivered. They've had all the contracts, everything. RHT, everything really started happening once they came on the platform in February, and all of a sudden, and Lisa said, hey, we're at that inflection point. And, hey, it's amazing. This is, she's actually doing it. And then we've had a couple of companies that kind of, they show up and then kind of gone. We've had a couple that have gone MIA, it's been a little bit annoying. Then we've had some that kind of had different, I don't know. It's not a perfect scenario. What you do see is this, what the companies that become 10 baggers, what they all have in common is they come out of the gate with news, and they usually maintain that pace for at least a couple of months. Then they might kind of slow down. But again, I'm very, very candid with CEOs I talk to who want to kind of come onto our platform. I tell them, look, this whole thing depends on two things. One is you really do have to be at that inflection where you got to have that news flow. Otherwise, it's not really the right fit. I mean, we're not focused on value stocks. This program is not about value stocks. It's not about 50% gains or any of that. It's about getting those stocks at that inflection point. I'll give you the best metaphor. It's really like we want to get that growth, the biggest growth spurt. So it's like we have the baby unicorn thing. That's one of our largest. So think of it like a human being, right? The biggest growth comes from let's say, I don't know, infancy, I guess, or year one and 15. That first 10, 15 years is when you get the massive growth, right? That's when you have the massive development. After that, it kind of like I don't know if does anybody really grow past, I don't know, do they get taller after they're 17? Really, not really. So what we want to do is we want to get them right at that growth phase, and then let them go on to the next deal, right? I mean, whatever. I mean, we want to get the massive growth, and the incremental stuff is for somebody else. So we haven't always gotten it right. But again, look, if we did, then we wouldn't be giving away the information for free or something. There'd be a different business model. But pretty much, look, you've seen all the companies that have done the 10X. They've had the massive news flow, or at least 3-4 news items a month. You see the CEOs on our program all the time, that type of thing. But overall, I got to put together some statistics because I think we've had an amazing hit rate in terms of, not just even 10 baggers, but doubles. Even the stocks that have turned into duds, a lot of them doubled right out of the gate, or first they doubled. So that's the good thing. Okay, so FCO, we're gonna have them on probably this week. We're gonna have a bunch of companies on. I think we're gonna have Visby. I'm hoping to have on this week. We're gonna have, I think, a pretty busy week this week. So let me just go to. Okay, so let me just kind of wrap up here. Okay, so fans, watch that $1.50 level. I think we're going to see a run towards $1 probably the next, probably by the end of September. I think the next 3 months in the market, we're going to have some amazing, amazing runs in some of these stocks. Be made the next couple of months, basically. I mean, after January, you can basically probably, I don't know, go on vacation. The next couple of months, I think I have a feeling they're going to be like amazing, and then who knows what happens? Maybe the market will fall apart. It very well could, because we are in a bubble. I mean, we're definitely in a market bubble. in an asset bubble, what have you. So I think we're kind of still, especially the micro caps now are bouncing, but we still have some room to go here. So, and all the big gains happened right kind of in the last, that sort of last leg. Okay. Let's look at ESE, kind of a related stock to, this is not the right, that's not the right. Oh, I see, different color. Green, okay. Forget about that. I don't know what that is. All right, so basically that is, that's right around there line. And the stock has been kind of, bouncing a little bit below, it's been, you've had these kind of fake out days where maybe, maybe, I don't know, people are trying to hit some stops in the stock, some in the stock or whatever. In that dollar range, definitely. There's probably a lot that are in that kind of $1 range. So I think what's going to happen here again is support line break out of this moving average, and then we could see $4, $5, $6. I want to watch the stock. I think it's going to be the next week or so. It's going to this week. I think we're going to see some action in this. The fundamentals are looking good. Again, their game plan is $100 million in revenues, $100 million run rate esports by the end of the year. So it doesn't mean they're going to have, so that maybe they'll have some of the acquisition. I think now they're at a 2025 with this latest deal. So they're making progress. It's again, I take everything with a grain of salt. So if somebody says 100 million, end of the year, I think it's going to be maybe 100 million by March or April. So if the 3-4 months out, it's fine. I think what we need to watch is the close of this motorsports acquisition and maybe another LOI, possibly. That would be good. But this thing is gearing up. Probably we're going to see the breakout move this week no, I think it's going to be this week. I think we're going to see the breakout move here. I think that's what is going to happen here. Let's go to Logic. I don't know what this chart is doing. Okay, so I don't even need to draw a trend line here because you can kind of see this big double bottom here. But let me zoom in because a really nice market action on Friday. Things are really starting to pick up. Again, it's LGIQ in the US over the counter. This is the over the counter. I'm looking at the over the counter chart. That's kind of the main chart, but it's also LGIQ in Canada on the NEO exchange. So all the Canadians can buy this in their TFSA accounts. What an amazing thing that is. And I think the stock is actually going to become more of a Canadian stock. I think there's a really impressive volume starting to happen there. But I think what's happening is it's going to be breaking out of this pennant here. And once you see the stock break above, let's call it 3, I'm going to say 3. Yeah, once it breaks like that 370 level, that's your pivot. I think that's going to be the real breakout on this stock, and then it could start going to, I mean, again, this could very easily double. I mean, we introduced this last year at 350 last July. $15 in a few months. It basically tripled in the first month. So I think it could definitely do it again. So I think it's $1 stock by January. I think that's what's going to happen with Logic. US dollars. So I don't know, whatever the Canadian thing works out to. They definitely have, a path to a $20, $30 stock. So again, this is a real company. They're doing what, 38 million revenues. They're really transforming their business. They're really going to be moving more to this, digital marketing, the ad tech business. That's kind of going to be a bigger focus. And there's that market has better margins and better valuations. It's going to be a much simpler story. Different company 6 months from now. They're going to probably spin off their Indonesia business. They might sell it. They might spin it off. So the Indonesia business is their delivery. That's the online. It's a very sexy business. That's like all the big valuations in there. That's like it's kind of the what do they call it? Not Uber. What's the thing for food? The thing they do, DoorDash. It's like a DoorDash in Indonesia, and they also have a fintech deal. They get some really interesting things there. It's just I don't think they're the ones that can really scale it, and I think they probably want to just focus on the digital marketing ad tech business in the U.S. That's my sense. More than this thing by itself, because of the huge valuations. So again, the investment thesis for Logic is it's trading at 2x revenues, so it's trading at 80 million, let's say, and the peer group is trading at 10x, 20x revenues. Basically the stock should be, it would be 10 times. Actually, no, it's not. Let's say 5 times higher than where it is right now as a start, just as a start. So based on their existing business, so that's $15. End of December, January. I have not heard from TBP yet. We should have him back. I think the guy was on vacation. They're like, it's a French Canadian. French people take their vacations very seriously, especially in Canada this year. Everybody is really taking the opportunity to get out of their house after being locked in for the last year. So I think he's going to be back this week. I'm very bullish on gold, silver. I think it's going to be huge. It's very, the issues with the gold chart, but I think gold could be $5,000 in a few years for whatever, I don't know what's going to be the catalyst, but I think that's what it's going to be. Wow. So this is stock CloudMD, CloudMD in 8 months since December. So, our kind of contract with them expired at the end of last December. And then, they kind of wanted to focus more on institutional coverage, not retail. And, it's, hang on a second, I think my computer froze. Okay, so I saw a funny quote from somebody. I don't know if we've had a few, maybe you might be referring to more than one company, saying, hey, what he sees is a lot of companies, a lot of micro cap, saying too many micro caps, as soon as they go on NASDAQ, they drop, all the retail, they spend a lot of time, on the retail marketing, building up their retail base. And as soon as they go on NASDAQ, all of a sudden they're too good for the retail. And they only want to talk to analysts, institutions. And, or even, it doesn't even have to be NASDAQ. Sometimes once they get to a certain point, they get like this mindset where like, oh, we're a serious company now. We're, and I've seen that happen a bunch of times. I've seen that. I mean, cloud is an example of that. I don't know what this is like. It's probably just a natural thing, I think, for a lot of companies. They figure, okay, look, we hit this massive milestone, and maybe we should. We're an institutional quality. I don't know what the thinking is. I don't know, because the reality is this: in the U.S., especially, they don't care about any stock. I mean, that's not like a multi-billion-dollar market cap. You're really liquid. They don't really care about these $5, $10 stocks. I mean, that means nothing, zero. So it's a big mistake. A lot of these companies, they kind of drop their retail and then you don't hear from them. CloudMD is a case in point. They dropped the retail. Skylight, I mean, I think Skylight is following them the same foot. They stopped doing their retail marketing. We see that happen all the time. It's I don't get it. Interesting. Look, AMC. So you have all these little guys, these little pikers who are like, oh, we're too good for retail. Meanwhile, the AMC guy, he's embracing retail. This is a company. This is a company that is what? It's I don't know what their market cap is, but it's like it's a couple hundred. I haven't looked at the stock in a while, but because that whole stock was made. It goes to show you the retail investors are extremely important. I mean, the reality is the retail investors really kind of went away maybe for about 20 years, maybe. I don't know, like up until a few years ago, they're basically, but now the retail is back. And I think the retail is going to be bigger than ever. Also, you have a generational change. You really have a generational change right now where, because all the apps, all that stuff. So you have a whole new generation of like millennials or what have you. It's they're more into it than the generation earlier. Probably any generation since the 1920s. It really is a. So the retail thing is any company that drops retail is making a huge mistake. Look at AMC; their whole success is based on retail. Or what's the other one? GameStop. I don't understand how a CEO can look at what's happening with GameStop, AMC, and say, oh, we're going to focus on institutions. We're like too good for the retail. Could be, yeah. Listen, I think TBP could be bought out, in the next year or so. We could see a lot of these companies. I think a lot of these companies can get bought out. Fans can get bought out. I mean, very possible. Interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day. He kind of was talking about the roll-ups, this, that, and basically saying, here's what's interesting. Like people originally they were saying like doc is a telemedicine thing, whatever. But their whole thing is the whole health, whatever. The roll-ups. I think, and again, I'm not saying sell. This is whatever this is this guy's opinion, but a profitable telemedicine company is extremely attractive for. I hate to say institutional investors, but yeah, it's an extremely attractive proposition, high valuation. So again, they could trade at 20 times revenues if they maintain that velocity. So if RHT gets the $50 million run rate, it could be trading at $1 billion valuation, which would make it not a big number. It would only be like a $5-6 stock, so it's not a big number. But again, $1 billion, that's only 50 million, right? So let's say they get to 100 million valuation, 100 million run rate. That's 20x. So, it could be a $10 stock. I think it's going to take them a year to be a $10 stock. I don't see it happening like in 4 or 5 months. I mean, RH2 could be a $10 stock, 12 months, basically. Not immediately. Wow. Okay. Listen, if you got an 18 cents, that's like ground floor. Oh, let me pull up the TBP chart. Yeah, a lot of positive things are happening with this TBP. Okay, so Logic is looking great. These things where I am shocked that this thing has not gotten more traction right now. I mean, the Logic it's an easy thing to understand. But I think once it gets moving, look, I think what happens with investors is like, it's like either people kind of jump on things once they've already moved. That's kind of the way the market is. So, this is more of a ground floor thing here. So, okay, so TBP. Again, so we introduced this around 17 cents back in March, early March. Moved to 50 cents. I think basically it's been kind of like in the water, kind of treading water, waiting for the next wave. It could have popped here, but I guess I don't want to say it's looking for a direction because I think the move is up on this stock, but it's sort of hanging out is the way I would say. Just waiting for some news. It's basically, okay, I'm not articulating properly, so let me articulate it better. The stock is basically just hanging back, looking for an excuse to run. Okay, so why do I say that? Because look, it hasn't really dropped. If you look at it, it's actually picked up quite a bit from the low of July. I mean, not quite, from 20 or 24 cents to 32 cents, whatever. So it's picked up, right? You had the sell-off when they did the financing. That kind of derailed the stock for a moving average. I think this stock is essentially looking for some good news. It's looking for an excuse to go up. So it's sort of, I don't want to say neutral. It's neutral to bullish, basically. We need some news. But again, the upside in the stock is big. Let me look up the U.S. Okay, so here's your U.S. chart. U.S. chart. I think we're due for the next big spike, which would make it, at least a buck and change, right? So I think it's going to happen. It's a 1 week chart. The 1 week chart looks pretty bullish. And look at this. It's been above this moving average. I think it's looking good. I think looking really good. Okay. Let's go to AIML. Okay, so I want which is what the thumbnail is about. So this week, make some big moves. Okay, let's focus on the ones that are ready for big moves. I don't think TBP is going to make a big move this week. Yeah, basically it's making hard. Yeah, so TBP is in sort of neutral to bullish. It's kind of hanging. Next move. I see it. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so okay, so now we're going to focus on stocks ready to explode this week. Big momentum. RHT, which I showed you before. RHT this week, it's going to be, I think, fireworks. It's going to be incredible this week. So RHT, one of them. AIML, actually kind of a similar, they're kind of in a similar business. It's kind of health, patient monitor. They have a mental health app now in Europe. It's some really interesting things. They got a consumer-facing thing. We're going to have the CEO back on this week, I think. And this chart is pretty interesting. You kind of see a little bit of a double bottom. So again, this is a stock we've had for back in here. I think it was, I don't know, 60, 70 cents, whatever. It basically doubled in a week. And then it spent, the next couple of months giving it all back. And here we are back to, it's amazing. When we introduced it, everybody was like, went crazy. That's where the stock doubled. Now, today, what it was 6 months ago, fundamentals are looking really good, and the stock is treading water. Your opportunities. You want to go do the opposite of the crowd, right? So right now, you have kind of this double bottom happening. You're going to be breaking out above this moving average, and I think once you break above 75 cents here, 85, there's basically two levels of resistance. I would say 75 a little bit, 85. Once you break above 85, I mean, I think you have a clear shot to a $1.50. So you could see this thing double next 30 days. So AIML this week is looking very good. Let's take a look at another one. VSB. We're gonna get VSB. We're gonna have Jay on this week. And you know, it's funny because last week I was saying, wow, this thing is looking like it's gonna explode. I think it was I think it was last Sunday night. Because the chart, I mean, right here, last Friday's close was so bullish. Such a beautiful setup. I mean, it really had an amazing setup. And just to spite me, the market went down, and here we are. And I think now is the big move. So you kind of have this pennant happening here. It's hard to tell this because this is not a big volume chart, so there's not a lot of good. I mean, it's not that great, this chart. It's not as do like a really nice chart, but I think we'll kind of have a nice base here. Here is your longer term chart. You're above the moving average. You have this kind of pennant happening here. So I think this week is going to be the breakout week. I think 70 cent, 65, 70 cent area. The next level of resistance again is probably in this kind of like, I would say it's right here at the 70 cents. Once the stock breaks above 70 cents, I don't think there's a lot of resistance. I think it could be, again, one of these like doubles. Looking good for this week. But, okay, so let me just recap the momentum stocks for the week. The stocks which I think, again, take this with a grain of salt, because last week I said VSB was looking at an amazing looking chart setup, and it didn't work out that way this week. So, you know, sometimes it doesn't quite work that way. So it might be a bit of a delay. But, okay, so this week's momentum stocks. Okay, Logic, watch. I mean, you're going to see, I think right now, this week, next couple of days, we could see a melt up in Logic. And once this Logic starts moving, I think everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon like last time. It's just the way this stock is. Nobody's going to be buying the Logic until it's like $5, which is kind of ironic, right? So fans looking really very, might see a massive breakout of fans, Logic. I showed you AIML. RHT, I think, is probably the #1 stock this week for $1.08 on Friday. Amazing. It's going up on volume. The volume is increasing. And I'll tell you what, look at this 1 hour chart. I mean, this thing just wants to go higher. It's like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing hits a $1.50 by the end of the week. There's really no resistance at this point. You know, it can do what it wants. It's all blue sky at this point. So this thing can move very, very easily. That's pretty amazing. So that's your 1 hour chart. So let me go to 1 day chart again. What you have here is basically, you know, what we call escape velocity. This is a perfect example of escape velocity. You're at that point where you're just breaking out. It's like a rocket that breaks out of that orbit, whatever it is, that pull, in the Earth's atmosphere, the last layer, where you get and then once you break out of that gravity, that's the, you're just, you can go to Mars. So, no, we're not. No, we haven't done anything with Sirius in a while. Are they drilling? Are they finally drilling? It's, God, that's crazy. Yeah. So let me actually, again, let me just pull up RQHTF, the US symbol here for Relic. It's interesting. Relic is really an American company. I mean, technically they're Canadians, but their whole business is based in the U.S. The remote patient monitor. I mean, they have some stuff, international. But most of the business is basically the U.S. Okay, so this is the long-term chart going back 2018. I would say when I said escape, you basically do have escape velocity, because this stuff would happen over here. I think the only real guide that kind of tells you is, okay, this is where the stock is done in the past. It could go there again. And by the way, look what the stock went from 14 cents to $2 in how long from September. Look what happened. This is interesting. This is history might repeat. Look what happened. The stock went from 17 cents to $2. Basically, let's just call it a 20 bagger for, just to make the math simple. So the stock was a 20 bagger in like 4 months, 6 months. Let's just be conservative. So this is a stock that's had a track record of becoming. And again, my kind of theory is, if a stock did it before, it could do it again. It's like once they have that in their kind of DNA, it's like they could do it again. So I'll give an example. So like CBDT, which again, former client. I think CBDT. I think it's probably gonna. I don't want to say. I'm not. By the way, I don't want to say it's gonna go down to a nickel or whatever. But I think it could. It could easily go down to 10 cents, right? But from that 10 cents, it can go back to 250. Because it already has that in the DNA, the whole thing, the whole setup. We could easily see Relic go to over $2. I guess Canadian would be like 250 in a month, 2 months, because it's done. So, and that would be a maybe even, I'll tell you what. I think it's going to be a new high, because you have this long base. You have this long base here. So I would say you legitimately have a shot of, let's call it $3 plus, $3 American. So that would be, there you go. That's like, what is it? $3 US is like 370 Canadian, I think. So that would give you, and that would probably be by January, February. Yeah. Looking setup in RHT again, asymmetrical setup. That's what I like. You want to see the VSB chart again? Yeah, we're gonna have Randy, the CEO. Yeah, so we have the other guy. We gotta get Randy at some point. But here's the other thing though: is AIML is not just that health gauge now. Health gauge is just one aspect, because they're buying this French company, which is going to be, I think, really could be a lot bigger. It's pretty interesting. Avatar, oh my God. I hope it goes up, man. I don't know what's going on. Let me look up this liquid avatar. I am a little bit disappointed. I'm more than a little bit disappointed that this guy's kind of went MIA. News, what's going on? So, it's not looking good. It's definitely not looking good. But I kind of have hope for this thing. That it's weird because maybe it's not irrational. It's probably the wrong decision. But I would say I think this thing has a shot of making a comeback. I would say, I mean, this is a stock I would sell on a run up. I mean, it's like it's basically been I would say it's been a disappointment. So the whole thing has been a kind of the investment thesis. I would say what was I'm trying to remember what was the investment thesis. This is back last December. If I had to sum it up, I would say, look, to me, I look at it as, okay, these guys have a shot. It's kind of the CEO is this kind of like crazy type of guy. That because I've seen these types of guys before that sometimes they come up with something and they hit it out of the park. So it could become like a 100-bagger. So it's one of those type of situations. So that was one of the attractions, but they really haven't got any traction. They were supposed to have had by April or in August. So they're really way, way, way behind, I don't know. You got to make your own decision. But we're not working with these guys. So that's the deal there. Let me see. Okay, so on a positive note, let's look at stocks that are moving up. Let me get this piece of shit off the screen here. Let's go back to. Okay, so like number one chart, I think in terms of momentum, number one, I think I would say fans number two, AIML number three, maybe Visby also looking very good. Those four are probably have the best chance of a big run. And Logic. And Tetra Biopharma, Tetra is really looking for an excuse to run. It's kind of just hanging back, waiting for some positive results. ESE, very similar. I think ESE is looking for a little bit of more news, and then we could see. Again, we have some amazing market setups right now. I think the next couple of months are going to be really, really incredible. So with that said, thank you everybody for joining, and I will see you all on the next live stream.